This is unbelievably good news. You may have heard by now that celebrity gossip columnist Perez Hilton said that he has had an encounter with God. This apparently happened during a recent medical scare. According to reports, Perez was hospitalized for 21 days for 3 weeks with a gastric ulcer perforation and developed life-threatening sepsis. He underwent surgeries, multiple surgeries, and he described the experience as being extremely painful and humbling. And he delivered an emotional story in a video for his followers.
The most special things about this experience is that God presented himself to me. It was not a feeling. God presented himself to me. And I grew up Catholic. I was baptized, had my communion, confirmed, went to Jesuit school for 7 years, but I was never a believer until now. God presented himself to me and then did something that I could only call miraculous. And I was very lucid. It was real. And this has been life-changing.
Now, he does not go into specifics, but he does say that he no longer has any questions, that he knows that God was there, that God showed up, that it was tangible, that it shifted him to a point where he says he doesn't just hope God is real, but he knows that God is real. And he now expresses a desire to return to church regularly, to raise his children in the faith, and to live with a new perspective on life and priorities. You can compare Perez's experience to Apostle Paul because there are some clear spiritual parallels, especially in how sudden and how personal the encounter with God felt. Paul's transformation happened instantly during a powerful encounter with Jesus on the road to Damascus. If you look at the book of Acts, chapter 9, it says, "Suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him. Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" And Paul was not searching for Jesus, but Jesus revealed himself to Paul directly. And similarly, Perez described, God presented himself to me. It was not a feeling, it was real. So both experiences share a sense of God initiating the encounter, not them working their way to belief. Before Paul's encounter, Paul actively persecuted and opposed Christians. And Perez says that he was raised Catholic, but he never truly believed in God. And afterward, Paul went from persecutor to preacher, and Perez went from uncertain to saying that he now knows that God is real. And so the similarity there is a shift from questioning to strong conviction. A third parallel is that this was a life-changing moment. Paul's encounter did not just inspire him, but it completely redirected his entire life. If you look at the book of Acts, it says, at once he began to preach that Jesus is the Son of God. And Perez described his moment as life-changing, something that shifted his priorities, his faith, his family, his church. And in both cases, it wasn't just emotional, it wasn't just symbolic, but it led to a change in direction. The fourth parallel is that this was a personal, tangible experience for both of them. Paul did not describe his encounter as just symbolic, but it was real, it was physical, and it was undeniable to him. In the same way, Perez echoed that same language. It was not just a feeling, but it was real. And that is important because both testimonies emphasize God becoming real in a personal way, not just an idea. The fifth parallel is that this is the beginning. It's not the end. Paul's encounter was the start of a long transformation. He spent years growing, learning, developing, being shaped by God. And the same principle applies here. Perez's experience may be the starting point, but not the full story yet. Will his lifestyle change? Will there still be changes that he makes in his personal life? Just like Paul, he didn't find God, but God found him. And I think it's so important for us as believers to rally around Perez, to support him, to pray for him, that he continues to spread his story, to inspire other people, and that he continues on his journey to becoming more like Christ.